Have you ever wondered why some people improve their English just by listening, without even studying grammar every day? You know what their secret is? They use podcasts not just for listening, but for living the language. Welcome to Unlocked English, the slow English podcast. Here, we speak slowly, think deeply, and learn English the natural way. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite topics, how to learn English with podcasts. Because if you do it right, podcasts can completely change the way you learn. Not just your listening, your thinking, your speaking, your confidence. I still remember the first time I discovered English podcasts. It was many years ago, and my English wasn't great. I could read simple text, understand a few phrases, but whenever I tried to listen to native speakers, it felt like they were speaking lightning fast. Everything was a blur. Words connected like a wave. And honestly, I felt frustrated. I used to think, maybe I'm just not good at languages. Then one day, a friend told me, try listening to podcasts. You can listen anytime when you walk, when you drive, when you cook. Just make it part of your day. So I did, and that one small decision changed everything. At first, I didn't understand much, maybe 30%, sometimes less, but I kept listening every single day. And what happened was magical. After a few weeks, my brain started to catch patterns. I began to recognize phrases, not just words. I could predict what the speaker was about to say. And for the first time, English didn't sound like noise. It sounded like music. That's when I realized something powerful. You don't learn English by studying it. You learn it by living it. And podcasts make that possible. Think about it. You can listen anywhere, anytime. No pressure, no exam, no classroom. Just you, your headphones, and the language. When you listen regularly, your brain starts creating connections automatically. You don't even notice it, but your pronunciation, rhythm, and word choice start improving naturally. That's why I always say, listening is not passive. It's training for your mind. But here's something important. Not all listening is equal. There's a big difference between passive listening and active listening. Passive listening is when you play an English podcast while doing other things. Maybe you're cooking, driving, scrolling through your phone. You're not fully focused. That's okay. It still helps your ears get used to the sound. But active listening, that's where the magic really happens. It's when you focus on the content. You listen carefully, repeat phrases, mimic pronunciation, and ask yourself questions like, what does that phrase mean? Can I use this sentence in my life? When you combine both passive and active listening, you start learning English 24 hours a day. You relax with the language. You start to think in it. And that's where fluency begins. One of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning was trying to understand everything. Every word, every sound, every sentence. I used to pause every few seconds, open a dictionary, and write down new words. It took forever, and honestly, it killed the joy. Then I realized something. I didn't need to understand everything to learn something. In fact, trying to understand every word was slowing me down. So I changed my approach. Instead of chasing perfection, I focused on connection. I listened for the main idea, the emotion, the rhythm, the feeling. And when I stopped trying so hard, my brain finally started learning naturally. Sometimes, the best way to learn English is to stop fighting with it. Let it flow through your ears. Let it live in your mind. One thing I love about podcasts is that they bring real English into your life. In a classroom, you often hear textbook English, perfect sentences, slow pronunciation, no emotion. But in podcasts, you hear real people, real stories, real mistakes. You hear laughter, pauses, natural rhythm, the sound of real communication. And that's exactly what makes your brain learn faster. Because your brain doesn't want grammar. It wants connection. It wants to feel language, not just analyze it. So when you listen to podcasts, you're not just learning English. You're learning how people think, how they feel, how they use words in real life. Let me tell you a short story. A few years ago, I used to listen to an English podcast every morning on my way to work. It was about personal development, short, simple, and always positive. At first, I just listened. Then I started shadowing, repeating after the speaker quietly on the bus. And something incredible happened. After a few months, I found myself speaking English without thinking. Not perfectly, but naturally. One day, a tourist asked me for directions. I answered easily, automatically, and only later realized I didn't translate a single word in my head. That was the moment I knew podcasts had rewired my brain. Now, you might be wondering, how do I actually learn with podcasts? Here's a simple way that worked for me, and it works for my students too. Step one, choose the right podcast. Find something you enjoy, because if it feels like homework, you won't continue. It could be about stories, travel, motivation, or English learning itself. But make sure the speaker talks clearly, naturally, and not too fast. Step two, listen to the same episode more than once. The first time, just relax and listen for the main idea. The second time, notice how words connect. By the third time, repeat short parts and copy the speaker's rhythm. This is called shadowing, and it's one of the best ways to train your speaking muscles. Step three, talk about what you heard. After listening, try to explain the episode in your own words, even if it's simple. For example, today's podcast was about how to stay motivated. I liked the part where the speaker said we should enjoy learning. This step is powerful because it turns listening into speaking. And that's how you move from understanding to expressing. Another thing that makes podcasts amazing is how they fit into your lifestyle. You don't need a classroom or a book. You can learn while walking, exercising, or even relaxing on the couch. Every minute you listen is a mini English lesson. And when you make it a habit, English stops being a subject. It becomes a part of you. I used to call this my silent teacher. Because even when I wasn't studying, the voice in my ear was teaching me through rhythm, emotion, and repetition. But let's be honest, there are days when you'll feel tired. You'll think, I've been listening for weeks, but my English still sounds the same. That's normal. Learning a language isn't a straight line, it's a slow climb. Progress happens quietly. You don't see it day by day, but one day you'll surprise yourself. Maybe you'll watch a movie without subtitles. Maybe you'll join a conversation and realize, wow, I actually understand everything. Podcasts help you build that progress, step by step, word by word. Let me share another small memory. There was a time when I stopped listening for almost a month. Life got busy, and English slowly disappeared from my days. When I tried to listen again, it felt harder than before. That's when I learned another important lesson. Consistency is everything. Even 10 minutes a day is better than nothing. It's not about how much time you have. It's about keeping the habit alive because your brain loves rhythm. When it gets a little English every day, it stays active and sharp. But when you stop, it forgets quickly. So make it simple. Maybe one short episode in the morning or half an episode before bed. Keep it easy, but keep it regular. Now, let's talk about mindset because that's the secret ingredient behind every fluent learner. When you listen to podcasts, don't listen like a student, listen like a human being. Don't just hear the words, feel them. If the speaker tells a story, imagine it. If they share an idea, reflect on it. If they ask a question, answer in your head or even out loud. That's how you connect emotionally with the language. And when you connect emotionally, your brain remembers, not because you force it, but because it felt it. There's something beautiful about learning with podcasts. They teach you more than just language. They teach you about people, about life, about ideas that make you think differently. When I started listening to English podcasts, I didn't just improve my English, I improved myself. I learned how to be more patient, how to listen better, how to express myself clearly. It wasn't just a language journey, it was a personal journey. And maybe that's why I still love podcasts so much, because they remind me that learning a language isn't about perfection, it's about connection. So, if you're listening to this right now and you sometimes feel stuck, like your English isn't growing fast enough, don't give up. You're not wasting time when you listen. You're training your brain in silence. You're building understanding, rhythm, confidence. One day, all those quiet hours will show their power. You'll open your mouth and the words will just flow. And you'll realize you were learning all along, even when you didn't notice. Thank you for listening to Unlocked English, the Slow English podcast. Keep listening, keep feeling, and keep unlocking your English one word, one story, one podcast at a time.